That would have been perfect, actually.
What? Just starting the show and
if I would have just hit record and you would have went, what do you want to talk about?
see? You need to get better at the editing here so you can just have that be the open every week.
I don't edit.
I don't blame you.
We're live to tape, my friend.
Whatever.
WCW in the early 90s. Edit bays, what are those?
Wait, does that mean we have to start paying people to follow the podcast?
Shivani coming back from a year up in the Fed going, what the hell? Why did I come back?
Yeah.
But, all right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's Friday. And so that means it's another episode of Kris and Mass Wrestling Pod 2.0. I didn't want to do it. And
what are you even doing here? Either you say the line or you don't start with the line. What are you doing here?
Screwing everything up. I'm doing what I do.
You got like 80% of it out anyway. You got almost all the way there, and then you were just like, no, I'm just going to abandon it. You're killing it.
Yep.
Welcome to the most unprofessional wrestling podcast on the internet.
I'm just like WWE storylines. I get like 80% there, and then
this is what you get.
Yeah, good enough. But yeah, Kris and Matt's Wrestling Pod 2.0. It is Friday, coming off of quite the eventful weekend for not just wrestling, but if you're here in the States, it was a holiday weekend and all the fun that comes with that. So, it sounds like everyone seemed to be, whatever show you watched, you at least had something, and we'll talk about Double or Nothing here in a bit and our feelings on that. But even that show had stuff that we were pretty pumped for coming out of it. So, but it's a whole weekend. It sounded like the Impact show was really good. I ended up watching all of Night of Champions after being on here last week going, I don't think I'm going to watch that show. And turns out I did, and it was really a really good show. So yeah, it's
amazing how people will watch if you just give them quality content throughout the course of a show. It's the damnedest thing.
Yeah, crazy. But so yeah, we're gonna talk. Like I said, we're gonna talk a little bit about Double or Nothing. We're not gonna go too in depth because it's 5 days later. I'm sure if you're listening to our show, I hope you're listening to other people that are far more reputable and know what they're doing when it comes to podcasting about wrestling. So hopefully you've gotten your fix on the in-depth analysis on Double or Nothing. But we're gonna gloss over it, and a lot of it's going to have a lot of the same tone to it until we get to like the last few matches. So that'll speed up the process too. And there'll be a couple other things we talk about this week, but after you've had a few days, I don't think we've talked since I left your house Sunday night.
No.
So now that we're a few days out, and obviously you didn't watch Dynamite, but what's happened coming out of that. How do you feel about the show, these few days later?
I'm big on analogies, right? Mm-hmm. And there are some episodes of Dynamite that you're like, that was such a good show. It was a pay-per-view quality show.
Mm-hmm.
I felt like Double or Nothing was a Dynamite level show that they charged $50 for. Had some good on it, a lot that I didn't care for. Didn't feel like I got ripped off. You know what I mean? Like it had enough where I was like, it was a decent show, but it wasn't anything that I was like blown away by.
Right. I still got to Venmo you. It just occurred to me. I'm like, oh, I should probably pay Matt.
Well, based on what I just said, maybe you don't want to pay me.
No. Yeah, I agree with you. I'm glad that, after I send you my half of it, I only paid, the 25 instead of,
sure.
If I would have had to pay the whole 50 myself, I probably would have been a lot more disappointed coming out of it. I don't know. It just felt like, and I get like not every pay-per-view, or or not every, or how do I want to say this? Not every pay-per-view is going to be the end of every storyline. And I get that, but it just felt like for a lot of the big stories, like you were saying, this just felt like a step in the direction on the next, line of the story, as opposed to culminating in something. And it's like, I just paid $50 to, not to see a conclusion here, or not to see, not to see anything, not to be fulfilled really, with what I saw. So,
well, in the conclusions too, I felt were too similar in a lot of aspects. The conclusions to the matches that happened were all too similar.
Yeah, let's get this out of the way. Every single match beside the trios title match had some sort of outside interference going on. No,
or a ref bump, because the 4-way didn't either.
Yeah, I was going to say the 4-way didn't either. You're right. So two matches out of what were there 8?
8 or 9.
8 or 9. Like every single one, and it's like, come on, man. Like,
well, and you had an it was gimmicked up too. You had a battle royal, which is a different type of gimmick match, but you had an unsanctioned match and a ladder match and an anarchy in the arena match. Like,
right.
I just,
you had Sabu involved in the Jericho Cole match, and of course there's going to be tables involved there. And then I think the very next match was the ladder match.
I think so, yeah.
And
no, it might have been the tag match. Yeah, I don't remember.
Either way, it wasn't. It was 1 or 2 matches later was the ladder match, and sure enough, because it's Christian in the ladder match, we also got to bring tables and chairs into it. So there are tables in that match too. It's like, and I made the comment there at the house, like, you'd think 2 guys like Jericho and Christian would be smart enough to get with each other and be like, hey, are you using tables? Because we got Sabu in our match, so like, we get tables.
Yeah.
Like, chairs were your thing, Christian, anyway, so you can have chairs, I guess, but we're taking the tables. And it just, and the outside interference is the joke used to be that every Dynamite match ends and then there's a post-match attack, or Gang Wars.
And it's getting to a point. Yeah, and now it feels like almost every major AEW match features some sort of outside interference, and it's not a little. It's really just it makes me tune out. It makes me not care as much, because this was supposed to be different than WWE.
Yeah.
It's just not.
Yeah.
And the one match you mentioned, the 2 matches that didn't have it. I don't think we talked about it for weeks. MJF was winning that match. No one was, so like that, it didn't need it because it just didn't, but it didn't make it like, it didn't make the match feel any more special because, it didn't have outside interference because we already knew who was going to win in the first place. Fantastic match. Outstanding 4-way. But when the ending was never in doubt, nothing they did was going to make me like, that was match of the year, whatever, because you knew what was going to happen.
Yeah. Yeah, the 3 best matches of the night were that match, the trios, and Anarchy in the Arena. And if you go on a 4th and you're gonna laugh at me, the tag match. I loved what up until the end, when it got way too overbooked with Karen getting involved and all that kind of stuff. But for 75% of that match, I was thoroughly entertained with the Memphis of it all. It was just good heel work by Jared and Lethal, and it just I enjoyed, like I said, like 75% of that match, and then towards the end it got a little bit ridiculous.
If that match would have been like the main event or the 1 hour, the kickoff match of a Dynamite, sure, but on pay-per-view, all that Gaga as it's been referred to, on a pay-per-view that already has a bunch of different crazy stuff going on, it just didn't need it. It felt like that should have been a classic tag team wrestling match in the middle of all this other chaos. So you get that, what do they call it? The circus, where you get a little bit of something for everybody. I don't know. That fell flat for me too.
Yeah. I was very, very, very disappointed in the Jericho Adam Cole match. Like it would just they didn't seem like they had any chemistry whatsoever.
None.
And it just it was not great. And of course, I knew it was going to continue, but then Cole wins the tag match too, so I don't know. I still don't think it's done because that's not how Jericho operates. But I don't know where it goes from here now. If if Cole's kind of gone too up on him, so to speak. So
Right. And they've already blown the intergender tag match portion of it. So
that was
what
very disappointing.
what are you gonna do? Jericho and Hager versus Strong and Cole? I don't know.
Yeah. What else?
And it might be a conversation for another episode, but something that I'm noticing more in Jericho's matches, he's starting not to look that great in the ring. He's having these long drawn out feuds, and the matches aren't delivering like they were.
Well,
You think about the Eddie Kingston stuff, where like it was great until it got in the ring, and then it was kind of hard to watch. Like I feel like his best stuff the last couple of years has been when they can gimmick and hide the fact that he's a 53-year-old man that is can't go out there and tear it up like he did 20 years ago. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, that's fair. Because I was gonna. I'm glad you added that qualifier because I was gonna point out that the match he had against Roddy a couple weeks ago was outstanding. But to your point, there was some smoke and mirrors with that because it was false count anywhere. So, yeah. I mean, he's 53. Like,
yeah, that's what I mean. Like
there's a certain. I was just gonna say there's just a certain amount of grace I'm going to allow him because of that. Like, because of the, he obviously should not be, near the world title picture or anything like that anymore. But like, for what he's doing, I just, like I said, it just felt like more than anything, it just felt like, I made the analogy when this feud first got started about how, it was kind of shades of Jericho and Shawn from back in the day. Only, Jericho's now in the Shawn role as far as, and whereas those two had instant chemistry right off the bat, this was the exact opposite. Like it just was.
Yep, I agree.
Miscues and it just was not good.
Well, and look, stopping an unsanctioned fight due to referee stoppage is ridiculous. And then for it to be Adam Cole, I mean, I know Adam Cole has a history of bludgeoning people into submission. So, like that whole side of it, like that's obviously sarcasm. Like Adam Cole is not that guy. It just didn't make any sense. So.
Not that guy, pal.
Yeah.
What else was there? I thought with Jamie being limited as she was, I thought her and Tony still had a pretty good match. Again, a lot of interference, a lot of gaga in that match, but that one, again, a little understandable given the circumstances. Just credit for her to even being able to gut it out and at least do that much to get the title off of her and get it onto Tony.
Yeah, I agree, especially considering the problems they've, the reported problems they've had with women's champions and they're not wanting to give up the belt and the if you watch the All Access where the interim label and stuff like that, like for Hayter to be like, no, I'm going to gut this out and do business. Mm-hmm. I'm sure means a lot to people in that locker
room. Mm-hmm. Probably the moment that had the people talking the most, I would say, or one of them was the return of Kris Statlander and her standing Jade successfully defended the TBS title against Taya Valkyrie, which we kind of figured she would. And afterwards, she got on the mic, and I don't know exactly whether she said there was no one left or whatever she said. But Statlander came out and basically she didn't say anything, but she accepted the challenge, I guess, that was laid out. Kind of shades of Hogan and Brett and Yokozuna from WrestleMania 9 a little bit.
Yeah.
But she ended up, beating Jade, and we have a new TBS champion. It sounds like Jade's taking some time off now. But yeah, a lot of people and everyone. Look, I like Kris Statlander. I think she's one of the better women that they have on the roster. It sucks what she's gone through. She had the one knee injury and she worked her way back, and she was killing it when she came back. She was killing it, and then she got hurt again. So it was a bummer. I'm glad to see her back. I know you and I though were kind of like, is that the best thing for a babyface? To beat the heel champion after the heel champion has already competed. For the most part, it doesn't seem like most people care. So I don't know. We'll see where it goes.
Yeah, I didn't care for it. It may be just because it's a traditional wrestling storyline. That's why I'm looking at it this way. But like, I thought it would have made more sense if you had Jade beat and it didn't have to be Taya, but like beat somebody in 90 seconds, almost like Natty and Rhea at Night of Champions. Then she gets on the mic, talks about how she's unstoppable, no one can beat her. And Statlander comes out and they have a 6 to 7 minute match, and Stat beats her that way. Because now I would assume when Jade comes back, Mark Sterling or whomever is going to do the interview inevitably where they're like, "You only beat me because you caught me off." It's a legitimate bitch at that point. And if you're a heel, you need it to be kind of illegitimate so that people boo. All that happened was Statlander came out and beat somebody who was worn down, and now if she goes to rely on that, there's no legitimacy to it, and it didn't make your babyface champion look like they beat anybody special. It would be like conquering the Undertaker's streak after he just wrestled, I don't know, Braun Strowman for 12 minutes. Like, it just would have been better if she came out and beat her in a more competitive match.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. But again, I feel like we're in the minority, so I guess people don't care about that stuff anymore.
And frankly, I don't care about the TBS title. Well, so, like, I really don't care what they do with it because, Jade never gave me a reason to really care.
Oh. Yeah. So, was there anything else? The trios match, as I mentioned, was really good. And it seems like that is also going to continue. Yeah, the Acclaim. I mean, Caster's rap was just.
I mean, it got the best reaction out of me of anything the entire night. So.
That might be his best one.
It was.
It's up there.
Pretty solid. Pretty solid. Yeah.
I mean, I love Rhea's response too, where she tagged Dom and she's, "Look, we're over in 2 companies."
Right. That's the perfect way to respond to that.
Yeah.
Like you're so desperate to get a pop, you got to pull off of someone else's hard work. Like, that's the way to do it, She didn't insult him or anything. She just pointed out, you had to use me to get over on your show. That's fine.
Yeah.
Because more people were worried about Rhea Ripley in that immediate moment than they were anything else in that match.
Yeah. Yeah. But it was a really solid match, and I'm interested to see what happens when they inevitably run it back. I think that's it besides Anarchy in the Arena, right? I mean, unless you want to say anything more about the 4-way. I mean, those 4 guys, they did what we thought they were going to do. They went out there and killed it. That was never a doubt. It was, some of the stuff in the lead up that had me kind of like, is this really, when the first idea first came up, I was like, ooh, I want to see that. And as I felt like, most of the time I'm criticizing them for not setting things up early enough.
Yeah.
And this one, I think, is the exact opposite. They set it up way too soon, and they had way too much time to kind of delay and build to finally get the match announced. And then it's like, okay, I'm just ready to see the match now. I don't want to hear any of these guys talk anymore.
Yeah, I feel like going forward after this year, if they're going to do Forbidden Door, they need to find a way to do it in July so that there's not a major AEW pay-per-view that they have to get storylines booked for and then turn around right away and flip it again. Because I'm guessing they probably felt they needed to get the build for this going early, knowing that coming out of Double or Nothing, all 4 guys had to reset more than likely.
Yeah. And so coming out, we had before I get to that, I love the finish of Darby going for the coffin drop and Max kind of sussing that out and laying the belt on top of Jungle Boy, and then that damn headlock side takeover.
Beautiful.
Love it.
Beautiful.
Love the callbacks. But yeah, so Darby teamed with Orange again this week. I don't know if that's going to continue or not. And then Jungle Boy came out to help Hook. So maybe we get some more Jungle Hook action. Sammy's in this weird limbo part now where he's still technically part of the Jericho Appreciation Society, but they worked really hard. They pretty much turned him babyface in the last couple of weeks leading into the pay-per-view, and now they announced him and Tay are pregnant, so it's like, I mean, I guess you could boo a guy with a kid on the way, but shout out to all the wrestling couples having babies now. Carmella and
Alexa Bliss.
I was gonna say Alexa, Carmella and Corey, and Tay and Sammy. So heck yeah.
Right.
Also, did you notice in Alexa's announcement photo she was wearing a Kiss shirt?
You know what? I don't even remember seeing the photo. I just saw the news that she was. So
yeah.
Good for them. Speaking of Kiss, I found out that Weezer, Kiss is Weezer, the founders of Weezer. That's Kiss is their favorite band.
Yeah.
Never in a million years would have expected.
Oh yeah, Rivers Cuomo is a huge Kiss fan. That's why he wears the lightning bolt guitar strap all the time. For Ace Frehley.
So Anarchy in the Arena happened, and
it did.
I know a lot of people were. I thought it was. I didn't think it was that great.
Really?
I thought it was. You know what? I think it has more to do with all the other stuff throughout the night. I was burnt out. Like, thumbtacks didn't mean as much to me. Barbed wire, the exploding shoe was outstanding, but you'd seen a million violent acts throughout the night already. I was just kind of eh. And then the finish was awful. It just, look, if you're gonna do these big moments at the end of these pay-per-views, you gotta nail them. Mm-hmm. And Takeshita having to leap over a falling Don Callis, barely hitting Kenny, and Kenny just lays there for 30 seconds until the finish. It wasn't as bad as the exploding ring, mm-hmm. but it immediately took me back to, like, you just bombed the finish of your pay-per-view again.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah. I was I had mixed feelings because I was into it during it. I was having fun watching it. The exploding shoe was like never even occurred to me.
Didn't think it was possible.
Like, they've done the thumbtack shoe before, but yeah, this I was like, just completely off guard. So that was really awesome. And then seeing on BTE when and how they set that up, after he got pile driven in the back of that pickup truck, that's when he came in and they gimmicked up his shoe. Those were the Spider-Verse Jordans, by the way.
Yeah. That's, at first glance, I thought they were just the original ones with red bottoms. But
right.
Yeah, it was a nice spot that you couldn't call coming. And yeah. I would say of everything else in the match, you kind of saw the rest of it, or you've seen it enough where it's like, yeah, that's whatever.
Yeah. And then from there, because the shoe exploded, so he's got to take it off, and then that leads to him getting his feet dropped in thumbtacks. And, like, shout out to the Bucks, man. They got their asses kicked in that match.
Oh, they haven't worked for 9 weeks. It is about time.
Oh, yeah, one of them's been hurt.
But like my thing about the thumbtacks is we just saw thumbtacks and glass 2 weeks ago in the cage match.
Right.
Like when you're doing this, I said it to you when we were watching the show. It's starting to remind me of ECW, where when every match is a hardcore match, it doesn't really impress me anymore, and it gets to a point where I'm like, I don't even want to watch it because I just know like it's just gratuitous violence to cover up for not telling a good enough story or not working strong enough in the ring for my taste. I know some people love that stuff, and I don't hate it. I just
Yeah.
on a card where people are getting hit with chairs and going through tables and thumbtacks and guitar shots and ladder matches, like it's just all right. I can watch. I grew up in the Attitude Era.
Right.
I can watch this stuff whenever. I've seen that stuff a million times.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, as you mentioned, Callis is on a commentary, which was kind of an immediate red flag.
Right.
And then he gets up at some point, and then Takeshita comes out and attacks Kenny, and so Takeshita's heel, and he's with Don Callis. He's Don's new protege. And now Kenny is out of the country. Not in Canada, though.
I wonder where he could be.
And so looks like he's going to try and round up some backup, and I think we're heading to Blood and Guts.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I guess the only question is it Ibushi or is it Okada, because Callis called out Okada directly.
he did.
But I wonder if that's more for Forbidden Door.
Yeah, it depends. So I don't think they'd be able to do it at Forbidden Door the way, like, they've already sold the tickets, and like it'd be too hard to reconfigure unless you do the two smaller.
No,
events.
No. I mean,
right.
I think he's setting up Okada and Takeshita at Forbidden Door, and then would that mean Okada joins the Elite for Blood and Guts down the road, or would they then go to Ibushi because it would make more sense for Omega to lean on Ibushi over Okada? They have a history together, but Omega and Okada were never buddies.
No, but they did do the tag match at New Year's Dash.
Sure.
And there is that. So, and you could play the mutual respect card too of, I've been through the wars with this guy. I know what he's all about. Blah blah blah.
Well, and the history of the Bucks with Okada too. It all plays into it. But I just think in terms of a match, I just don't see Okada being the right guy for a Blood and Guts match. I just don't.
Yeah, maybe.
But off the top of my head, I can't think of a single Okada match that was violent like those are supposed to be, where he would fit in. So,
yeah.
Not that Ibushi's a deathmatch guy either, but he's at least.
If we get that Okada that beat the crap out of that dude from Noah a couple months ago.
Well, that too. Sure.
But so yeah, well, and yeah, that's, again, that's part of the thing where it's like, this was the main event, which I thought it should have been, but it it's just the stepping stone in the story to the next level, and it's like, okay, I guess, but this also could have been done on Dynamite. You could have had the Takeshita thing happen some other time. But if the Elite end up winning Blood and Guts, I get why you give BCC the win here. And it looks like they're kind of, Yuta gets the pin in that match. He got the pin on Wednesday in their trios match. Looks like they're trying to level up Yuta here a little bit. So,
which makes, if you're going to do something like this, the other 8 guys that are going to be around after this,
they're all
Takeshita and Takeshita and Yuta are the ones that need to be elevated.
Yeah.
Otherwise, this feud is serving no purpose other than to tie up 8 of your main eventers in a massive feud, which is fine, but you might as well use that to at least, like you said, elevate some people at the card too.
Yeah. Yep. So we'll see where that goes. I also like that on Dynamite they finally brought the Dark Order into this. Like 2 months too
Yeah, but
late.
didn't they break them up on? Didn't they break them up on Ring of Honor last night?
Who's that?
Dark Order. Didn't Stu Grayson and Evil Uno get into a fight on Ring of Honor TV last night?
I have no idea. I don't pay attention to what happens on Ring of Honor TV.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure I saw a clip, but I could be wrong. But I saw a clip that showed the two of them getting into it in the ring which I thought was last night's Ring of Honor.
Maybe that could be. No, I meant the Stu, or not Stu, Uno and Reynolds and Silver walking up and interrupting the Bucks and Hangman interview and being like, "Hey, what's up, Hangman?"
Right. Nice to see you turn your back on your friends again, but you're the baby face in this situation.
Right. He's a flawed human being.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even baby faces have flaws.
Oh really?
They do.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'll keep that in mind when we get to talking about what else we're going to talk about here with AEW.
Sure. Well, let's get to it. It's official. He's back. Yay.
Miro, they announced that a couple weeks ago. Remember he walked into Tony Khan's locker?
Yeah, no, not Miro. A man with slightly more tattoos than Miro. Less hair than Miro. Skinnier than Miro. What else we got? More American.
More losses in the UFC. More losses in the UFC.
More losses in the UFC. Yeah.
Huh. Okay.
One Charles Montgomery Punk is officially.
Wow.
That's not mine. I stole that from Twitter, so that's not mine.
Sure.
But yeah, it's official. He's back. He'll be on the first Collision from the United Center, and they're pumping out the announcements. He'll be on every Collision after that, pretty much.
Yeah.
So he's back, everyone. Yay.
Yeah, a little bit of a mixed reaction, it sounded like, in the arena.
It was very mixed. Like the initial, obviously, like as soon as Tony said the word CM Punk, obviously there was a huge, and then as it went on, you could hear more and more boos, and they were very good about keeping the camera away from anyone who was not giving a thumbs up or clapping or anything like that.
Yeah.
As soon as, if there ever was someone giving a thumbs down or anything, middle fingers or whatever, they were very quick to pan away. So.
Right. Yeah, we've again the most it's the worst kept secret in wrestling. Now it's just I want to see what happens.
Yeah.
I don't have the level of excitement, not even close to what I did 2 years ago. Honestly, at this point, I want to see if he comes back and if they move right into a storyline, or if they're going to do this drawn out. What is CM Punk going to do now that he's back in All Elite Wrestling? There's just that's it. There's just really nothing to do but wait at this point.
Yeah. I saw there's some people that are like, well, why would they announce it this time? And I'm like, well, you just did the whole. We're running a show at United Center. Maybe CM Punk will be there, but we're not going to say thing like 2 years ago.
Well, and also the last time they sold 15,000 tickets for it, and when they announced this Collision thing, they were only at like 7 or 7.5.
Well, it's currently, according to WrestleTix, it's only set up for like less than 9.
Well, I thought they said they released some more seats in the upper bowl that started selling. My point was they announced Punk's going to be on the show, and then the next day WrestleTix is reporting they had moved like 700 seats like overnight that they weren't drawing before.
No, right.
I think it's clearly hey, we're not moving as many seats as we did last time. Let's let him know he's for sure going to be there, draw up some interest, and also because now that you know he's going to be there, if you were on the fence about watching it on a Saturday night, that might be the reason it gives you to tune in.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. And I was like, as the announcement happened, I was in a discussion on Twitter with someone, and because they were in the why would they announce it camp, and I'm like, well, here's why. You just did it, and I'm like, look, if you look at WrestleTix, as of right now, the setup is only for less than 9,000 in a 20,000 seat arena. Like,
right.
you're
See, now I know.
And so, yeah, they might have released more tickets now, and it might be for higher. But as of Wednesday night, it was
Right.
less than 9,000 that was, and that's not what they sold. That's what they were planning to sell. So,
yeah, as of yesterday, it's set up for 10,200 seats now.
So yeah, they opened
and
up a couple
earlier
more
in the
thousand.
week, it was as low as 86. So they've added 1,600 seats, but they've only sold 7,600 seats. So I say they've only sold. You're still putting 8,000 people in an arena for a wrestling show is a pretty big deal.
Sure,
it's easy to overlook like the drawing power in that point. Like, he's obviously still a draw. What's going to be interesting is in the weeks ahead, now that everyone knows he's coming, is he going to be enough to move tickets in Greensboro and these other places?
Yeah. Yeah, no, putting 8,000 is fine. My only thing would be you can do 8,000 in any other arenas in Chicago that they run. You're running a United Center because you want to run, get 12, 13, 14 in there if at all possible. So, but yeah, no, it'll be fine. Bring Collision to Detroit so I can finally boo his ass in person.
You want me to punch you in front of 10,000 people?
Sure, that's fine. Okay. We'll just make sure we film it and put it on the podcast.
Man, that's, you know what? It's not a bad idea. Yeah, I think for me, the most, I'm just relieved that all the nonsense is over. Like, there's no more like, oh, they had conversations and Punk's camp wants this and the Young Bucks won't apologize. Like, it's done now. Like, let's just get it over. Like, at this point now, let's just hope for the betterment of all of us. Everyone gets along, they work together, and they can produce some really good stuff. And I don't mean Punk and the Bucks. I mean just in general.
Yeah.
Let them do their thing and let's move past it.
Yeah. Yep. I agree. So hopefully it's hopefully whatever he does when he comes back is compelling stuff, and it's all good. So that's all anyone can ask for. So speaking of compelling stuff, your mileage may vary. We mentioned Night of Champions earlier, and we're not going to talk about a lot of it. But the main event was Sammy and Kevin defending their tag titles against Roman and Solo Sikoa. And I thought that Sammy's reception in Montreal was something. This was on a even bigger level than that. It was amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, like, especially considering the controversy surrounding him the last few years when they've done these shows, like, it's just, I'm not going to pretend like I know all the politics and the situation over there. It's just really nice to see, like, a guy who from what we had been told wasn't allowed to even come into the country, not just go there, but like get a reception like that. And when he did the introduction in Arabic for the fans, like, that had to be such an awesome moment for him. And as much as I on this podcast bitched about how he should have been the WrestleMania main event, and he's the one that put in the work over all the years, I would imagine between Montreal, the WrestleMania Night 1 main event, and then this, probably his favorite 6-month stretch of his career is asked. Like, those are 3 monumental moments. I would take it as, if the career ended tomorrow, he's probably going to look at that and be like, man, look what I did.
Yeah, that's pretty special. No, it sounded like the whole week over there for him was just great stuff. Ali too. Ali had not as big of a reception, obviously, but he was received very well as well in his match with Gunther, and those two guys tore it down as well. But yeah, the main event was a good match. But you were just kind of waiting. for what was gonna, how was this gonna end? And as Roman Reigns matches are wont to do, there was a ref bump, and here come the Usos, even though they were told to stay out of it. And at first things were going right; they were helping out and everything, until there was an accidental super kick on Solo that Roman saw. He didn't see all the other stuff of them helping, but he saw them accidentally kick Solo, and that made him upset, and he started pushing Jay around, and Jimmy finally had enough, and he pulled the trigger with a couple super kicks of his own on purpose on Roman. Much to Jay's dismay, Jay was kind of like, "Oh my God, what did you do? We're so screwed now," as they were walking back up the ramp. And then Sami and Kevin retain. And it seems like they've succeeded in tearing down the Bloodline.
It would appear so.
So we have SmackDown tonight. We have the 1,000-day celebration. Sounds like there might be a new title belt for Roman. I mean, there's no need for him to carry on 2 anymore. So just give him a new 1 and call it good. I will laugh if it's the exact same of like the new World Heavyweight Championship with a different color strap.
God,
he saw that.
I hadn't even considered that. Whatever.
I want that one.
They should just I don't know. It'll be ugly no matter what it is. None of their new belt designs in the last like 4 or 5 years have looked good. So
yeah.
I really couldn't care less about his new belt or anything really involving him at this moment, aside from where they're going with this Bloodline thing. Like, I don't care who his next opponent is. I don't because he's not losing that belt for a while.
Right. So there's I'll say speculation. I won't even say that it because it's never been anywhere reputable. So I'll just say there's speculation that this might lead at Money in the Bank over in the UK. It might be it'll be the Usos versus Roman and Solo. I've seen that thrown out, and then maybe Roman and Jimmy at SummerSlam, which no thanks.
Sure.
It really will make me nothing like. Look, I love the Usos, but I'm not interested, even in the context of this story. I'm not interested in either one of them in a singles match against Roman Reigns because neither one of them are going to win.
Right,
so
and if they did, it would be and if they did, it would be the dumbest thing ever, because you had the guy to beat him 3 months ago if you were going to take the title off of him.
Real Shawn Michaels, I'm only dropping the belt to Razor.
Yes. Right.
But yeah, so we'll see. I haven't tuned into SmackDown since WrestleMania. And I don't know if I'll tune in live, but I'm definitely going to try and catch this segment tonight because I think it's going to be
the whole segment will be on TikTok 5 minutes after it finishes airing.
That's fair.
God bless the internet.
Yep. But I don't know. Maybe when this is all over, Roman will be in the next Hobbs movie.
I mean, Rock's got his own spinoff coming. He's back in the franchise, so it's interesting to me that they've announced Roman's schedule is basically like, here he is. He's going to be here every 2 weeks up until SummerSlam, and then after that, we don't know.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I think to your theory of the not your theory, but to what you were saying about the tag match at Money in the Bank, and then a one-on-one at SummerSlam, it seems like the most logical way to go.
Yeah. And I'm sure just like this past pay-per-view, people are going to be up in arms that he's not defending again at Money in the Bank. And again, who cares at this point? Call me when he's like actually going to lose, like has a chance to lose, and then I'll be in title defense. Like I just don't.
And what are you going to do? Ignore the storyline? Ignore the overarching storyline, the storyline that is like consumed the entire company for the last 2.5 years, essentially. You're going to ignore that so you can build up Bobby Lashley over 6 weeks just so he can take the next L. Like,
Yeah.
I feel like they've got to close out this bloodline thing before there's another credible contender to the title, because no one's going to believe that he's going to lose until this is finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I agree.
I mean, I would argue you're not. I don't care what they do. I don't think you're ever going to get someone as hot as Cody was going into WrestleMania this year until the Bloodline storyline is finished completely. Other than that, you're always going to be fighting an uphill battle.
I don't think it's going to be. I don't think even then. Yeah, I'll save my thoughts on Cody for another time. Because they've massacred my boy. But
yeah, I don't know what you're talking about. Didn't you hear Brock Lesnar's scared of him?
Sure. Right. Whatever. Yeah, I
love it. I love it.
I know you do. I know you do. You just wait. Next time Punk has an implodes, I'll be right there giving it right back to you. So
what's today?
June 2nd.
June 2nd. All right. So like what? June 23rd. We'll be talking.
That soon, huh?
I think it'd be like, not that I want it to happen, but wouldn't it be hilarious if like he comes back and he's just furious about how the way the first night goes, gets into a Tony Khan and walks out after the first, like that would be the next saga, and then we'd spend the next year complaining about Punk on the internet for that.
So no, I think he gets another good solid year. I think maybe like a year is like his like limit, and then he's got to take some time off.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the other, and not to go back to just Punk, but the other question is, can he even stay healthy? I mean, the last 6 months, I mean, almost the last year that he was there before the blow up. He talked about being banged up coming out of like full gear and things. Mm-hmm. So who knows?
Yeah.
They could do all this speculation and fighting, and he could get in the ring and his body could just go, dude, we can't do this anymore.
Right.
We're just not built for it.
Yeah.
So
could be. So. All right. Anything else?
It's cool to see the stuff about Fight Forever is finally getting.
Oh yeah. End of the month.
End of the month. We've got a pre-order, and the videos I've seen, it looks like it's going to be the throwback. If you play the WCW NWO Revenge and WrestleMania 2000 No Mercy, like it looks like they've nailed it. So I'm excited to pick that up.
I'm interested. So So Jeff Hardy is going to be part of the DLC, right? It's amazing.
I believe so.
They could do that, but they can't / won't take Cody out.
I mean, if you've got the contract right, you know what I mean. Like,
right.
If you can put him in there, and maybe Cody being in there is the tipping point for some 13-year-old to buy this instead of 2K23
or a 37-year-old.
Whatever, that's fine. I wonder if they'll let you put the. I wonder if they're going to have the Down Street song in the game.
Yeah,
I haven't heard anything.
It sounds like there's a lot of music that might not be in there.
Awesome.
It's been so long since some of this information came out, so I could be. Don't take anything what I'm saying as factual, but I want to say there was maybe even something about them not even getting Cult of Personality in the game. So,
awesome. Even better.
Instead of Wild Thing, we'll get that generic Dean Ambrose music ripoff that Moxley had for like the first year.
I didn't hate that music. It wasn't awful.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, but it's not
and
Wild
after the
Thing
first
either.
few weeks of the but I think after the first few weeks of the Wild Thing, it kind of died off too. Like the crowd doesn't sing along like they did before. Part of that's because he's a heel, but Jericho's been a heel. Jericho's been a heel the whole time, and they still force feed Judas to us every week.
Jericho's Jericho.
Nah,
and that's like
fair enough.
I think it's different when it's your song.
Yeah, that's true. I'll give you that.
As much
that'll be Cody's next thing. Cody, he'll be like Taylor Swift. He'll record Cody's version of Kingdom, and then he can sing it wherever he goes too.
Awesome. No, he flat out told WWE, like, I get my theme song, I get my nickname, I get it all, or you don't get me.
Yep, and they were so desperate. They're like, sure, whatever you want. I even checked this out. Apparently, on the 2K23 game, you cannot give anyone else on the game the Kingdom song as their entrance. You can change the theme music for anybody else, but you can't put it on anybody but Cody. I haven't tested it out, but that would be interesting to me too.
Yeah, that's funny. Yeah. Gotta love it.
Sure.
But all right.
Anything for neck tattoo.
Exactly. Anything except for putting the goddamn title on him.
Well, that's come on. He's got to overcome the adversity.
That's right.
I told you that months ago.
Yeah.
That's where this is all headed.
Yeah, it's your fault then. It's your fault. I blame you.
Oh, you know what? I'll wear that as a badge of honor.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, let's get out of here.
That's fine.
Like and subscribe. musicandmoonsault.com. Probably sometime middle to late next week, I will have my first new album review in a long time. New Foo Fighters album dropped today. I've already listened to it a couple times. Really digging it. I'll have a review up here sometime next week. So be on the lookout for that. And, of course, Matt and I will be back next Friday for more wrestling talk. So, yeah. Check it out. Tell your friends. Invite them to come along. Yeah. So until next week. See ya.